August 14th, 2022. That date is carved into my mind like a scar. It was the night I realized that the woman I loved most was no longer mine. Before I take you into my story, let me warn you. What you're about to hear isn't easy. But if you enjoy stories where betrayal meets revenge, then hit that like button and subscribe. Because this one is personal. I wasn't looking for trouble that night. I wasn't searching through her phone or spying from the shadows. No, I simply came home earlier than expected. And what I saw, it wasn't just suspicious. It was a truth that cut deeper than any knife. Her laughter, her whispers, words not meant for me. You know that feeling when your stomach sinks, but your body freezes? Yeah, I felt that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not the type to flip tables or break down doors like some movie hero. Honestly, I just stood there quiet, watching. And maybe thinking, man, I really should have gone to the gym more. At least then I'd look better during a betrayal scene. But here's where it gets interesting. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. Instead, I smiled and walked away. Because in that moment, I wasn't just a husband who got cheated on. I became something else. A man planning the kind of revenge you don't see coming. And trust me, you'll want to hear how it ends. Before I tell you how I plotted my revenge, let me rewind the clock. Because to really understand the pain, you need to know how deep the love once was. I met her in 2009. I still remember the way she laughed that first night. We were at a friend's barbecue, and she spilled ketchup on her white dress. Most people would have been embarrassed, not her. She just smiled, shrugged, and kept talking like nothing happened. That confidence, that charm. I was hooked instantly. Back then, I thought I'd found my forever. We got married 2 years later. We didn't have much, just a tiny apartment, cheap furniture, and dreams bigger than our bank accounts. But we had each other, and that was enough. I worked long hours, sometimes pulling double shifts, just to make sure we had a better future. Every late-night drive home I told myself, she's worth it. We're worth it. But here's the thing about love. It blinds you. You stop noticing the little cracks forming in the glass. At first, it was nothing. Her staying out late with friends, more makeup than usual, laughing at texts she never shared with me. I brushed it off. I told myself, she's just busy. She's stressed. She needs space. Looking back, maybe I didn't want to see the truth. Maybe I thought hard work could keep a marriage alive. But you know what they say, when someone is drifting away, silence speaks louder than words. Now, let me ask you something. If you saw the warning signs, would you dig deeper? Or would you trust the person you love the most? Most of us, we choose trust, because it's easier to believe in a lie than accept the truth. And so I kept ignoring the signs. I worked harder. I smiled wider. I pretended everything was fine. But the truth was already crawling under my skin, and one night, that truth finally stood in front of me. Not as a rumor, not as a suspicion, but as a betrayal I could see, hear, and never forget. It started small. At first, it was just her phone. She used to leave it lying around without a care. But suddenly, it was glued to her hand, screen facing down. Notifications cleared the moment they appeared. One night I asked casually, "Who keeps texting you this late?" She laughed it off. Said it was just a friend from work. But I noticed how her eyes darted away, how her voice cracked ever so slightly. Then came the changes in her routine. She started working out. Early mornings at the gym, even though she always hated exercise. New clothes, a new perfume. And when I kissed her before bed, the warmth wasn't there anymore. Have you ever laid next to someone and felt 1,000 miles of distance between you? That's what it was like. Two bodies, same bed, but hearts living on different planets. Now, I'll admit, I tried to convince myself I was just being paranoid. I even Googled, am I insecure or is my wife cheating? And let me tell you, don't ever do that. The internet makes you feel like Sherlock Holmes and a clown at the same time. But deep down, I knew. The late nights, the sudden excuses, the way she pulled her hand back when I reached for it. It wasn't in my head. It was happening right in front of me. Still, I stayed quiet. Why? Because part of me didn't want to lose her. And another part of me wanted proof. Hard, undeniable proof. And proof doesn't stay hidden forever. Because one night, fate handed it to me on a silver platter. A night I'll never forget. A night where all suspicions turned into a painful, undeniable truth. And that truth? It was waiting for me, just behind a half-open door. It was a Friday night. August heat still hung in the air. I remember because the crickets outside were so loud. But inside, my house felt dead quiet. I came home early. No reason, just a gut feeling pulling me back. You know that sixth sense you can't explain? That night, mine was screaming. I walked up to the door, key in hand, heart pounding like a drum. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Soft voices, laughter, and a sound that didn't belong to me. Her voice, playful, whispering, but not to me. I pushed the door open just a little, and there she was, sitting too close on the couch with him, their hands brushing, her smile glowing in a way I hadn't seen in months. You know, I always thought if this moment ever came, I'd explode. That I'd shout, scream, throw something. But I didn't. I froze. It felt like my whole world collapsed in silence. And yet, my eyes wouldn't turn away. The way she leaned in, the way his arm rested on the back of the couch. That living room, our living room, suddenly became a stage for my humiliation. And let me tell you, standing there, half hidden by the doorframe, one thought kept circling in my head. Really? On the couch? We paid good money for that thing. Yeah, humor in the middle of heartbreak. Crazy how the brain works. I felt anger boiling inside me. My fists clenched so tight my nails cut into my palms. But louder than anger was emptiness, a hollow pit that whispered, "It's over. She's not yours anymore." I could have stormed in, could have dragged him out, could have ended it right there. But instead, I stepped back. Quietly, slowly, carefully, like a thief leaving his own home. Because something inside me changed that night. I realized shouting wouldn't heal me. Fighting wouldn't fix me. But silence could become my weapon. So I closed the door, walked away as if nothing had happened. And when she came home later, smiling like nothing was wrong, I smiled back. She had no idea I knew, no clue that I'd seen it all. And that's exactly how I wanted it. Because in that moment, I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't confront her. I would break her from the inside out. Quietly. Patiently. With a silent revenge she'd never see coming. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid in bed with my eyes open, staring at the ceiling, hearing her steady breathing beside me. How could she sleep so peacefully, while my heart was burning alive? Every laugh I heard from the living room replayed in my head. Every touch, every smile that wasn't mine anymore. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her awake and ask, why? After everything I've given you, why wasn't it enough? But I didn't, because somehow, anger wasn't my biggest feeling. It was disappointment. Deep, heavy, suffocating disappointment. The next morning, I put on my mask, smiled at breakfast, asked about her day. She answered, as if nothing had happened. And you know what hurt the most? She looked me straight in the eyes, like I was still the fool who didn't know. And maybe that's when I realized, she wasn't scared of losing me. She was confident I'd never find out. Funny thing is, she even kissed me on the cheek before leaving for work. I almost laughed. I thought, wow, imagine kissing your husband goodbye on the way to see your boyfriend. That's multitasking at its finest. Crazy, right? But here's where the story changes. Most men would explode, slam the door, throw her out, end it all right there. Not me. No, I decided to stay calm. Because silence is powerful. Silence makes people nervous. Silence leaves room for guilt to grow. I decided to let her think she'd gotten away with it. To let her play her game, while I quietly prepared mine. That night, I looked at her sleeping face one last time and whispered to myself, "You may think you've won. But from this moment on, you're living in my world. And my silence will be louder than any scream." And that's how my revenge began. Not with a fight. Not with words. But with silence. Cold, calculated silence. She didn't know it yet. But every move she made from that moment forward, I was already 3 steps ahead. I want to be honest with you. I didn't plan a fireworks show. No dramatic confrontations, no public scenes. I wanted something slow. Surgical. A quiet correction that cut deeper than any yell. So I started with small things. Tiny drops. Tiny rules. Like salt into a wound, they add up. First, I changed my routine. I stopped staying late at the office. I started coming home earlier than usual. Not to catch her. She already knew I knew. But to watch how she reacted when I was suddenly there. Would she panic? Lie? Pretend? The little tells matter. They always do. Next, I withdrew things she took for granted. Not money, not possessions, things harder to see. Attention, praise, compliments. The warm texts that used to appear on her phone in the afternoon, gone. Little acts that once meant the world, I held back. I made myself calm and distant, like winter settling in the room. I know how that sounds. Hold back love to punish your spouse. Sounds like a bad romance novel. But hear me out. Silence gets under the skin. Noise can be deflected. Guilt, slowly fed, gets heavy. Then I started to rearrange her world in ways she'd notice, but not at once. I volunteered for more chores. I took over the grocery runs and small errands. I paid attention to how she reacted when I didn't need her to do anything. If she flinched at losing control, good. If she tried to make me
Why did you
jealous,
hit me,
also
Hag?
good.
I had to.
Every action told
Now,
me
you
more.
understand? I had
I also
to.
protected my pride by staying
And
civil in
believe
public.
me, I wouldn't
I smiled
slug you
at
if I
friends.
didn't have to.
I laughed at gatherings.
But you was
It
acting
made her
kinda
uneasy. People expect drama
wasn't
when trust
listening to
breaks.
me.
So when nothing exploded, suspicion turned inward. She began to question herself. That's where the revenge lives, inside her mind. There were nights I stared at the ceiling, not with rage this time, but with a cold focus. I kept thinking, how do I make her remember what she did without being the villain? The answer was simple and cruel in the gentlest way. Let her feel the loss of me. Let her chase what she already lost. Have you ever watched someone lose what they took for granted? It's quiet. It's heartbreaking. And sometimes, it's the only lesson that sticks. Within weeks, the change was visible. She texted less in front of me. She started asking me if everything was okay. Her smiles turned real again, but fragile, like a bandage over a wound. I wasn't satisfied. I wanted more than regret. I wanted reflection. I wanted her to look inward and find me waiting at the center of that ache. But the turning point wasn't just silence and cold dinners. There was one calculated move I made that flipped everything. And it involved someone she never expected me to use. I'll tell you about that next, and how a single choice can change the endgame. It didn't take long for her to notice something was different. At first it was subtle. She'd tell me a story, and I'd nod without adding much. She'd ask about my day, and I'd answer with just one word. Fine. The woman who once had my full attention was suddenly talking to a wall. And you know what? It rattled her. I caught her watching me when she thought I wasn't looking. She asked why I wasn't smiling as much. She even tried cooking my favorite meals, ones she hadn't touched in years. That was the irony. When she had my heart, she didn't care. But when she felt it slipping away, suddenly she remembered how to be a wife. One night, she even pulled out a dress she hadn't worn since our honeymoon. And let me tell you, she strutted around the kitchen like we were in some kind of commercial. I almost laughed out loud. In my head, I thought, too little, too late, sweetheart. This isn't a sales pitch I'm buying. The silence aided her more than any argument ever could. When I didn't fight, she started fighting herself. I could see it in her eyes. The guilt, the panic, the fear that maybe, just maybe, she had gone too far. She tried to touch me more, tried to spark conversations, but every attempt bounced off the wall I had carefully built. And here's the thing. Guilt grows in the dark. When you don't confront it, when you don't give it an outlet, it multiplies. I let her carry that weight. Weeks turned into months. And every day I watched her sink deeper into her own regret. But I knew guilt alone wasn't enough. I wanted her to break. I wanted her to confess. And when she finally did, the truth came out in a way I never expected. It happened on a rainy evening. Strange how the weather always seems to match the mood. The house was quiet, except for the sound of rain tapping against the windows. I was sitting at the table, reading, when she suddenly sat across from me. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't look confident, or distant, or untouchable. She looked broken. She whispered my name like it was heavy on her tongue. Then the tears came. She started talking fast, stumbling over her words. Excuses, apologies, half-truths. She told me she made a mistake. She said it didn't mean anything. She begged me to forgive her, swore she'd change, swore it would never happen again, and all I did was sit there, silent, no anger, no yelling, no reaction, just silence. You know what's funny? She kept asking if I was mad, and I almost laughed because mad felt too small a word. Mad is when someone cuts you off in traffic. This was betrayal carved into bone. The more I stayed silent, the more desperate she became. She reached for my hands. She knelt on the floor. She confessed everything. Not because I asked, but because the guilt had eaten her alive. And that's when I knew. My silence had worked. She thought she was in control, that she could lie forever. But here she was, shattered, handing me the truth without me ever demanding it. But here's the thing about truth. Once it's out, you can't put it back. And now the ball was in my court. Would I forgive? Would I walk away? Or would I let my revenge finish what it started? That night marked the turning point. Not for her, for me. Because the real question wasn't what she confessed. It was what I was going to do with it. Her confession should have felt like a victory. After all, my silence had broken her down. She was begging for forgiveness, promising me everything under the sun. But you know what I felt? Nothing. No joy. No relief. Just a quiet emptiness. Because here's the truth. When someone destroys the very foundation of your trust, the house may still stand, but it's already condemned. So I looked her in the eyes and told her calmly, I heard everything I needed to hear. No shouting, no insults, just cold truth. She asked if I'd give her another chance. She asked if we could start over, and for a split second I almost thought about it. Almost. But then I remembered that night. Her laughter, her whispers, her smile that wasn't mine. And I knew there was no going back. I could have made a scene. I could have marched her lover right into our home and put on a show. But honestly, I'm not in the entertainment business. Revenge isn't about fireworks, it's about results. So I gave her the one punishment she never expected. I walked away, not with anger, not with drama, just silence. I packed my things over the next few days. No explanations, no long speeches. She woke up one morning, and I was gone. And let me tell you, nothing unsettles a guilty soul more than being ignored. She wanted a fight. She wanted chaos. Instead, I left her with nothing but her own reflection and the memory of what she'd thrown away. People always ask me, wasn't silence too soft? Didn't she get away easy? No, silence is louder than any scream. It lingers, it haunts, and it forces people to face themselves when the noise is gone. My revenge wasn't about destroying her. It was about freeing myself. And in that silence, I won. Looking back now, people expect me to talk about anger, about rage, about how I wanted to burn everything down. But the truth is, I never needed flames. Silence was enough. See, revenge isn't always about destroying someone else's life. Sometimes, the greatest revenge is refusing to let them destroy yours. If you're watching this and you've ever been betrayed, you know the ache. That punch in the gut that makes you question your worth. But here's the lesson I learned. You can scream until your voice breaks. You can fight until your hands shake. None of that brings peace. Peace comes when you decide that someone else's betrayal does not control your future. My wife lost me the night she chose someone else. And my silence, that was me saying, you no longer get my pain. You no longer get my energy. You no longer get me. And if you're wondering, no, I didn't send her a dramatic goodbye text with 20 emojis. I left that kind of drama to her. So here's my advice. If someone betrays you, don't waste your life shouting at closed doors. Step away, walk into your own freedom. Sometimes the loudest statement you can ever make is to say nothing at all. Because silence isn't weakness. Silence is power. And when you choose silence, you're not just punishing them. You're freeing yourself. And that's a revenge no one can take away.